Advancements in generative AI technology have made it easier than ever for users to create realistic deepfake content. Unfortunately, this also means deepfakes are being increasingly used for harmful purposes. While the creation of deepfakes utilize sophisticated AI technology, the same cannot be said about people's ability to detect a deepfake, which relies solely on the observer's ability to visually or auditorily identify the AI-generated content. And based on a recent research study by a team, including Cooke, people's detection accuracy is equivalent to a coin toss.
Detection research has been pretty challenging because the technology moves and changes so quickly over the years, it's really hard to keep up with. So one gap in the research that we really wanted to address was trying not just to identify how well people can tell the difference between what's real and fake, but how they can do this in a kind of a real world setting. And what does this look like when they're shown digital content that reflects what they see in the everyday world. Another gap we also noticed was in a lot of previous research, the age demographics were fairly constrained. However, we wanted to make sure we also had a realistic reflection of US age demographics, proportionally speaking. And so we made a point of making sure to include a whole range of participants of different ages in our study, from the ages of 18 to 84, so we could really see how well different age groups handle deepfakes.
Surprisingly, there was no significant difference between people highly familiar with deepfakes and those unfamiliar with deepfakes. So were there any factors that did significantly impact a participant's detection ability?
We found people performed significantly better when presented with stimuli that contained languages that they were fluent speakers in, rather than ones they were unfamiliar with. And this was not just for audio-based content, but also for silent videos as well. In regards to images, where we had both human faces and then non-human face objects, we found there was a significant difference between detection performance on each of these groups, which we weren't expecting to see. We found that human faces were much harder for people to detect on average than images of landscapes, of food, of animals. The fact that there's a significant difference is very concerning because almost all of the malicious uses of generative AI, whether we're talking about financial fraud to sexual abuse material, almost always feature human faces, which means that people are going to be just more vulnerable. Lastly, we found that age was a significant predictor for detection capabilities, and that older demographics performed substantially worse than younger demographics across the board. So this is especially concerning because there have been a lot of government reports released over the past couple of years, from the FBI to the FTC and the FCC, all showing that older populations in particular are being targeted for AI voice scams. And so the fact that they are even more vulnerable than younger demographics to this in terms of cognitive perception, makes this very concerning. However, despite all these differences that we've just discussed, as the technology continues to improve, we suspect that these predictors are going to become less meaningful over time. People are not as good as they think they are at detecting AI-generated content, and that is something you should always be keeping in mind, both as a researcher and as a digital consumer yourself. And this problem is only going to get worse if we don't do anything about it.
Learn more in the October 2025 Communications of the ACM in the research article, As Good as a Coin Toss: Human Detection of AI-Generated Content.